Guys, Greg Doyle, Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat. Prediction video time. I'm bringing you Saturday the 31st of August's main event between Luke Campbell and Vasiliy Lomachenko for the unified WBO, WBA, WBC, vacant WBC that is, lightweight titles. So yeah, I'm going to give you a quick background into both guys, where I can see the fight being won, and finally prediction time. So, having a quick look at both guys, we'll start off with Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell is 20-2, and he's got some really good names on his record, Luke. So he's got Darles Perez, who's former WBA lightweight champion. You'll know him from his fights with Anthony Crolla. He's got Jorge Linares on his record, who he had that really tough split decision loss to. He's got Ivan Mendy, who he lost his first ever fight to, but avenged that win in style, outpointing Mendy quite widely. And you've also got really good domestic fighters like Derry Matthews, Gary Sykes, Troy James and things. Those guys on the record that looked really good against. So he's built up quite a bit of experience. We all know that Luke's Olympic gold medalist as well, so he's a very, very decorated amateur. Comes up against probably the hardest test of his career, and probably the hardest test that most fighters could go through of fighting anyone from any generation. He's up against the pound for pound best fighter in the world, Vasiliy Lomachenko. I should say arguably the best pound for pound. You could probably call it between 2 or 3 guys. Vasiliy Lomachenko is 13-1, and that one loss coming in his second fight when he fought for the world title, trying to break a record against Orlando Salido. But Vasiliy, we all know how awesome Vasiliy is. He built up an amateur record of, I still think this is crazy, it almost sounds like a lie, 397 fights, 396 wins and 1 loss. And the Russian that he lost to, I believe it's Albert Selimov, I think his name was, he came back and avenged that loss twice. So he doesn't do things by the half measure, Lomachenko, but he's got fantastic names on his record. I mean, he's a three-weight world champion. I think for me, his most impressive victory is probably Nicholas Walters. Reason being is because when he fought Walters, that was, I wouldn't say people were split, but they thought like, Walters could hurt him, but didn't have any of it. Also, arguably the best name in his record, Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. is still very, very highly thought of. In his last fight, he disposed of our own Anthony Crolla inside 4 rounds. So both guys have quite good resumes, but Vasiliy Lomachenko he's a one-of-a-kind fighter, isn't he? But we'll move on now, and we will talk about areas and where the fight can be won. Now, for Luke, I'm sure you guys have probably thought about this yourself. I'm not going to say that I can come up with a game plan on how to beat Vasiliy Lomachenko, because I don't think anybody really knows how to beat him yet, but I will give you what I think Luke should do, and it may not be what you agree with, but having been involved with fighting myself and watching boxing for a number of years, I would like to think that I'd hopefully have some kind of background into where I can see the fight being won if it's done correctly. Now, looking at Luke's height and reach, everyone automatically thinks go on the back foot. I disagree to an extent. I would keep it long, but I wouldn't necessarily go on the back foot. There was a very, very effective amateur move that was called like a 2-stage attack, and it's where you hold your feet, you throw your shots, you bounce out, you bounce back in and throw another few. Now, I don't want Luke to see Luke doing that too often, but I do think that he needs to a certain extent bully Lomachenko, lean on him, hit him with uppercuts to the body inside, ram a nice hard jab right in his face, right to the body, and stop that movement that Lomachenko's got if that's possible. But he needs to use a hard jab, and he needs to hit him to the body. And when they get up on the inside, if I was Luke Campbell's trainer, I'd say grab him and push your weight on top of him. That will tire him out, if it's possible to do so. I'm speaking about him as if he's the Terminator, but he's clearly a very, very hard man to beat. If I'm Lomachenko, you basically be Lomachenko. You throw your shots, you turn and do them at angles, make Luke Campbell overreach, and Vasiliy himself bounce in, land his shots, and then move. I think where Vasiliy could have a lot of success is when Luke's thrown, especially if he gets tired in the fight. Vasily's quick enough to roll under the jab and change the angle and bang to the body at the same time. My worry in the fight is that he may not respect any power that Luke has, but from hearing a few stories, Luke supposedly does punch relatively hard. He's just maybe not a one-punch concussive hitter. And I think training with Shane McGuigan, who for me, by the way, is probably the best trainer in the country, I think that can only really bring him on. How much more can you teach an Olympic gold medalist and a guy who has almost basically done it all except win a world title? But I do believe that when you turn over at the pros, there is quite a bit of adapting to be done. But I think Shane McGuigan will be good for Luke's career. So on to prediction time. For this fight, I'll just come right out with it. I see Vasiliy Lomachenko potentially stopping Luke Campbell in the second half of the fight, if not going to points and winning relatively wide on the scorecards. I just don't see if Luke, bear in mind I don't like it a lot of the time people make these comparisons, but if Luke had a really hard time and was being caught sometimes at will by Jorge Linares, and Vasiliy Lomachenko, who had a good fight and was down against Linares but effectively neutralised him and stopped him, I just don't see where Luke wins the fight against a guy who can probably move better than Linares, throw from better angles than Linares. Linares is, for me, probably a harder puncher and a crisper puncher, but I'm struggling to see where Luke wins this fight. Do I think he'll be competitive? Yeah, at times I think he will. My biggest worry in this fight is that Luke doesn't have the power to make Lomachenko respect him. And this is why I'm saying Luke has to get rugged and bang him to the body. So when it's looking as though they're coming from here, bouncing in at the distance, at this point, if you're Luke, you've got to be throwing like a jab, jab, left uppercut to the body. Remembering Luke's a southpaw. For me, that's what he's got to do. I wouldn't go on the back foot for too long, because how many guys have tried to go on the back foot against Lomachenko? The amateurs is basically, for a number of years there, you'll remember the white spots on the gloves. It was hit and don't get hit. When you're ahead, move away on the back foot. So he's seen that a million times before. I think you've really got to be a pro against him. So that's what I would do if I was Luke. But prediction is a prediction, and for me, guys, I'm sorry, I've got to go with Lomachenko stoppage or wide points in the second half of the fight. I've got to be honest in these videos, and I wish Luke all the best of luck, but for me, it's Lomachenko.